Hey, we're sitting here with with Colin Hanks, a.k.a. Travis Marshall,
Yep.
also known as the Doomsday Killer.
DDK.
Yeah, season 6
Yeah.
of Dexter.
Yes.
This is our
season
big
6.
bad edition. We should put that out there.
Okay.
We're talking to the big bads. Little did you know that you would one day be a big bad.
A big bad.
Big bad Colin Hanks.
Yeah. I didn't know that I was going to be a big bad. I thought I was one of two.
Right.
That
Yeah,
was
but you were the.
I was the.
Yeah. Let's talk about you. Cool. Let's talk about Travis Marshall a little
All right.
bit. You came on Dexter. We were all like crazy excited because
Mm-hmm.
the last time we saw you on TV at that point was you were playing the priest on Mad Men.
Yeah, that was sort of yeah, I mean for a large group of people that was really sort of like one of the last things that they'd really seen. I had
Yeah.
done a series called The Good
Oh,
Guys,
The Good Guys,
on
that's right.
Fox.
That's right.
That not a lot of people saw.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You were a cop on that. or
I was a
something.
cop on
Yeah.
that. But yeah, Mad Men. I played the priest on Mad Men, and that was sort of I coasted on that for a little while, and then and then I got the call for this, which was incredibly exciting.
You didn't have to. Did you audition or not? I can't remember.
I did not
You
audition.
did not
no,
have to. You do not have to.
Uh,
You are Colin Hanks.
Not for that. Not for this job. For every other job, yes, but for this job, I don't know what it was. I remember very specifically, like going into my agents at the time for some big sort of hullabaloo meeting, and the TV agent at the time that the TV agent that I had at the time was like, "All right, well, listen, I'm just going to be really quick, and then you feature guys can take up the next
Right.
2 hours. But Dexter, you like Dexter?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Thinking there's no way I'm going to be on Dexter. He's like, "All right, great. All right, well, have a nice meeting. I'll see you later." And then about a week and a half later, there was a conversation.
With Scott Buck at that point. I think.
Yeah. I got
And-
on the phone with Scott.
Probably
And
Sarah Colleton.
and
maybe?
Sarah, and they sort of. It was very funny because at that stage it was. I was gonna do it. I mean, there was no way I was gonna say no.
Right.
But there was still the chessboard, as I like to call, where they have to sort of tell me what they have in mind, but they can't tell me everything
Right.
because there's still a deal that needs to be negotiated and all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the meeting, I was just it was on the phone. I just said, "Well, I'm in. It sounds great." And
And you're just like, stop.
my
no, hey."
agents were like, "Don't ever say that, ever." But yeah, we had a very
That's nice.
we sort of talked around the show
Right.
at the time there, and
Had
that
you seen it at that point? Have you watched some of it, or
I had not. No,
Oh.
the show had always been on my radar as
because you're squeamish about things, right? That's what I've read. I've read you're very squeamish.
I'm not big on. I'm not big.
I haven't
on,
read that. I was just making that. up.
No, but it's not. You're not wrong. I'm not necessarily big on. Not that Dexter is a horror
No.
show, but I'm not necessarily big on blood and gore and stuff like
Right.
that. I don't really care for it very much. But everyone had always told me, no. You gotta see the
Right.
show. That's not what the show's really at its core. It's really something very different. And so once I knew I was gonna be on the show. I did a full-on binge and watched the 5 previous seasons and was hooked, and then showed up just ready.
And that was
ready to
so you
work.
I see Lithgow, who you'd worked with before on.
I got to
on
see,
Orange County.
I got to see Lithgow. I got to see one of my fake movie dads.
He's sort of like your spiritual dad on this show a little
Yeah,
bit. too.
a little bit. Yeah, no, for sure. No, I finally got to see. I mean, because that's really when people talk about the show. I mean, even to
Yeah.
this day, it's still Trinity.
Lithgow's
is-
amazing. Trinity.
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic, and so it was really nice to finally see that and go, oh yeah.
Yeah. Were you? I mean, when I was able to start writing for the show, I was a little daunted by it all. Were
Mm-hmm.
you? After seeing, well, I guess what the question is like, what did you know?
I didn't really. What I knew was essentially a lie. In that first phone call, Scott had pretty much said, so there are 2 characters.
Right.
One is a professor, and then the other is his follower.
Right.
And you would play the follower, and the 2 of them try to bring on the end of the world by reenacting certain parts of Revelation. And that was really all that I had.
Right.
He didn't really give me anything else at that point. Eddie had not been cast yet. There was still conversation as to who Geller was going to be. But the other thing was he had said, and this year we're going to do something very different in that Dexter is going to catch you and he's going to let you go.
Right. Which that's a rarity for Dexter
Which was
Morgan.
which was a big thing, and he was stressing, that's a very big thing for the show. The character's never done that. We've never done that. But that was it. That was that was really the only things that we had discussed. And throughout the course of shooting the season,
Right.
it kind of got confusing because
those writers were jerks.
because technically everything was correct, but
Yeah.
Technically it was not correct. I mean, it was there was one period where I was like, I really genuinely have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I
Right.
actually don't think it was a bad thing.
Yeah. We talked about it in the room, so we should flat out say what this is. It's
Yes.
The professor.
Yes.
Edward James Olmos was actually not necessarily a figment of your imagination because he was a real person a long time ago.
Yes.
But he was Travis Marshall's professor.
Yes.
Who was talking about the end times. And,
Yes.
And
he was someone that Travis had fixated on.
Yeah.
And he was a pupil of, and Travis took his teachings
and his life.
and his life and his life took his teachings literally.
Yeah.
Whereas the professor did not.
No, the professor was just teaching it like it's some great literature.
Yes. And
there's this feeling when Quinn and Batista visited the campus. There's this feeling that the professor just sort of he liked getting girls naked for pictures for
yes
to
draw
show
sketches.
the revelation.
Yeah.
There was a certain amount that you thought that Professor Geller was a little bit he enjoyed being a professor.
He was one of those eccentric professors.
Yeah.
As professors have a tendency.
No, take
to
off
be.
your top.
Yes. Yes, baby. Eddie had a great voice for that. Yeah. Eddie had a great voice for that. But I remember specifically the scene where Dexter has got Travis in the car and he's got the
Right.
wire behind.
Yeah,
And I remember
as Max
shooting this
says,
scene and going, and he lets Travis go, and I go, is this this is not, he's letting him go. Is this what they were talking about? And I had sort of said, at that point, I had no idea what was going on. And
Right.
so I would literally just play each scene, whatever was written, I would just play what that beat seemed to be. And they were all pretty sort of obvious,
Right.
Travis not being able to do what he wants to do or being conflicted about what he's doing. And so I just sort of went with that.
Right. Because Dexter at that point sort of felt like maybe I can. This poor kid. I can save him. I can.
Yeah.
He's under the sway of something evil.
Yeah,
Which is something Dexter understood with
And
the
at
Dark
that,
Passenger.
and at that point, obviously, at that point in the season, I was reading the script, so I knew the stuff that was going on with Mostaf's character,
Right.
At the time. So I sort of knew thematically where things were sort of going, and it all sort of made sense. But there was a huge period there where I really didn't know what was
Yeah, you hit it well.
what was going on.
Because I'd go check you out.
Make believe.
I think that was my episode where you got choked.
No, that was your
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. So
Why
I-
did you
I
say
was
that as
sitting
I'm
there.
kind of like describing this? You should have just said that was my episode.
Yeah, and I just did now. I didn't want to break up your flow, man.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
But see, I was still at that period. Like, I didn't know. At that stage, I still thought that Geller's character
Geller's
that he was real. And then once I found, I guess we could get into when I found out and all that sort of stuff. But once I found out, I was still convinced that the big reveal at the end was going to be Dexter letting Travis go.
Oh,
I
yeah, 'cause
thought
you
that
thought it
all
was a
the
table.
way. I thought that was all the way. I thought that was going to be the last scene.
Yeah. No.
Wow. And I remember. So the episode before the reveal,
Right.
I think before when we do the table reads, we sort of do the table reads a couple of days or like a week before we start shooting. Yeah. I got called into Scott's office and he told me the reveal and I was like, "Oh, damn. Okay. Wow. Great." And he goes, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "No." "No. Okay.
I guess it makes sense.
Cool. All right, let's go." And then remember we were still shooting the previous episode, and I remember having this. I had to pull Michael aside and say like, "Oh, yeah, I just want you to know, I know now." So we're cool. And he's like, "Oh, okay, good." And then I remember we were shooting. It was a scene where Dexter is following Travis in like a market.
Right.
Next thing you can tell me this is you wrote this episode too.
No.
Where Travis is going to pick up like I think it was some cloth or something for the whore of Babylon. I can't remember.
It was the whore of Babylon.
It was, yeah.
The alligator heads. And
there was this. I was having like one of those existential.
Or was it the angel? I think maybe it was the.
It was
angel.
probably the angel. Yeah, the whore was very early on. I was having one of those stupid sort of actor existential things. It was like, so I'm on the phone. Okay, I don't like pick it up. Like, do I pick it up like hello, or do I just dial, or like what?
Yeah. We actually talked about that in the room. It's like,
oh, I'm sure.
So when he picks it
yeah.
up, does he? If it's all in his head, does he dial? Does he know his number? Is he dialing a number from, back when he was a professor back in the day, or how's this all working out?
There was, and I remember having this conversation where it was actually kind of nice. I mean, now I sort of had something else to think about, which was actually kind of great. So I actually asked Michael. And I said, "Hey, question. Tell me if it doesn't matter, but like, it kind of makes sense if he just thinks his phone is ringing and he just picks it up and he just starts having a conversation, right? I mean, that kind of works."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, I think so. Let's ask the director." So we asked the director. And as like we're just about to ask a question, and then Michael goes, "Wait, does he know?" And I go, "Oh, I'm not sure if he knows."
That's right, because it was held closely to our chest.
Yes,
yeah.
and John, the director,
was John Dahl, right?
John Dahl,
yeah.
who I love.
Yeah.
He instantly just went, I know. And I go, "Oh, okay, great." And then we asked him questions, and then of course it ended up not being really important or a beat that was played.
But it is important.
It was important, yeah. But
it
ended up not being something that was. At the end of the day, it was that there wasn't like a shot of Travis picking up the phone.
It's just
I think it was just cut to cut to voiceover or something like that. But it was funny. I remember very specifically the very first scene that we shot. That Eddie and I shot down at the pier, the sunset shot, because John directed that episode as well. And I remember overhearing him and Eddie talk. Him and Eddie were talking, and I remember
Edward James almost knew.
Eddie knew, he knew. And I'm guessing that they were talking about this secret. Yeah. And I only remember John saying, "Well, it's kind of like life, isn't it? You never know what's going to happen next, and so you just don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought he was just talking about episodic television, because actually, that's like, it can break your brain. Where like all of a sudden you'll be getting a new, you get a script and you're like, "I have a cousin from Duluth." Like, what's this? Like, I don't know what any of that. What? Like,
and they're a transvestite.
What?
Huh?
Like, this is this is a huge thing. Like, I could have played this. It doesn't matter. And so it was only until the end that I sort of went, "Oh, I think that's what they were talking about." I guess I don't know.
Well, there was a lot of talk on almost, and Eddie, you call him Eddie, Edward James Olmos' part, that he's like, "Do I look at people or do I not?" Like, I guess there was one scene. It's where you. where he sort of fell for the waitress.
Yeah,
It was like that sort of
he kind of
sweet
slipped
moment.
up. He slipped up.
Yeah, he looked up at her, and then Lauren Goss, the writer, was like, oh, "Don't look at, don't look."
Yeah, and he had this whole thing about props too, because
Yeah.
his actor instincts came in. He's like, "Oh, well, it's a scene about dinner, so clearly I should be finishing up a plate and da 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 da." And props came in and worked, and
And then
Yeah.
I think they took it away.
yeah, and then the writer
yeah,
said,
yeah.
whispered in his ear. He goes, "Oh, yes, yes, yes. All right, I don't need any of these props anymore."
Yeah, we talked about that in the room too. After she told us, we're like, well, I don't know. We think in Travis's brain they're eating together. So yeah,
It sort of worked out. I don't. That was actually. It was funny that twist was really. That one was kind of hard to wrap the head around a little bit, because, again, just going off of what Scott had said, you know, Travis truly believes in what he's doing,
Right.
wholeheartedly. He never deviates from it. He's a very religious man, and yet that whole thing was not really. I mean, that read to me is something that Travis would not do.
right when he slept with the
Yeah, exactly. And so I was at that point. I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like and I just went, I'll just play whatever like the beat is. You know,
played it. I mean, this sort of nervous, sweet guy with this woman, and I want to do. I mean, I feel like everybody. I mean, I grew up in the church. Like I grew up. My parents were like pastors and all that, and so it was always like that thing you want, but you sort of are afraid to go forward with it.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
if a girl actually wants to, you're like, oh.
Well, and that's, you know, at the end of the day, like I totally approve of what Scott
Yeah, he's a
and
great
all of
writer.
you guys did. Like it makes perfect sense. And
So here's the big question then.
yeah.
Do you think? Do you wish that you had known at the very beginning that almost was a figment of your imagination, or do you think it would have affected you in the, you know, because we talked about that in the room. It was actually like a big long discussion in the writers' room
I
about.
never got to really
we-
pick your guys' brain on this sort of stuff. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, but like so.
I don't know.
If they know, then do people start to overthink it? Does an actor start to overthink this thing? And
I
now
think
suddenly-
that can always, you always run
Yeah.
you run that danger. That's not a sentence, but
but
you can run into
we
that
understand.
problem. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely run into that problem for sure.
Because in this way, you were playing, you know, you're playing it like this guy. There wasn't even a consideration that he wasn't.
Yeah, and in that regard, look, in that regard, I think it really works. You know, and I think it worked. You know, are
Did you
there
feel betrayed when you found out, or were you?
No, I didn't.
No, okay.
I really didn't.
I mean, I guess that's episodic TV, sort of.
It's still episodic TV.
I mean, that's not a cousin coming in from Duluth, but
No, exactly. No, it's so much better
It's
than a
pretty
cousin
big.
coming in from Duluth. But no, I sort of feel like are there a couple of moments that maybe you could have played differently?
Right.
Yes, of course.
like what? Do you remember one that you would have?
I'm
if you
trying
can, it's
to-
all right.
well, no, I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of there's certain things like the conversation. I just remember there was one scene. It involved another scene on the phone. And I think it was your episode.
Sorry.
No. I think it was your episode where he's walking and he's having to tell. I should have brushed
No,
up
yeah,
on
it's
my
okay.
episodes, but there was one scene. I'm trying to remember the director who directed it.
Was it SJ?
SJ, yeah.
SJ's fantastic, right?
Oh my God, I love her. Love.
She didn't
her.
know.
That was your episode.
Yeah. She did not know
She did not
about
know.
it, and so
Okay.
she actually was like, "I can't believe you did this."
Yeah. So
Scott,
it was
you little
then. Yeah, it was your episode, and he's on the phone basically
Is that
saying,
the one on the beach or whatever?
It's not on the
No,
beach
no.
where he's walking on the street.
Right. Oh
And
yeah.
we
yeah,
shot
yeah.
it literally just
on
right
the back.
outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there. At night.
You know, there are a couple of moments where it would have been.
It was after you got let go,
Yeah, literally right after Dexter.
and it was the moment when you
Travis
started to
goes.
turn. You started to think, I maybe don't have to follow
yeah,
him
don't
anymore.
follow him. Yeah, exactly. There were a couple of moments like that where I sort of, in retrospect, I thought, oh well, you could have maybe done a little bit more of a twinge of something. You know,
Right.
there's some moments in the season that were that for me I just sort of felt maybe were a little bit too one note. But that's on me. That's more on the performance, just because I was just, I didn't know what was going on, so I was just playing the one beat, just kind of just.
I don't know. It came
going
off
for
great to
that.
me.
The great thing I realized is that, especially with on a show like Dexter, there's this huge safety net where people read into what you're doing, and so there's a lot of stuff that you don't intend that people read into. That people see what they want to see, and so that ends up being a sort of a great safety net. And for me, obviously at the end, I knew what the big reveal was, so I was looking at everything all of a sudden with a different set of eyes, going like, okay, well, maybe this could have been a little bit different, or he could have been a little bit more manic, or a little bit calmer, or a little less needy, or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I think that it totally works for Travis's journey. So,
right. And in order for Dexter to look at Travis Marshall as not just a guy who ended up killing his sister,
yeah,
and all these
exactly.
different people,
Oh,
that
yeah.
this was someone that really needed to be saved.
Oh, totally.
Which is something Dexter wasn't able to do
for sure
with Nick,
yeah,
the guy that killed.
Well, but
stepsister.
the other thing that was really interesting too, I mean, just from a almost sort of like an acting, or not even an acting exercise, but like an exercise for an actor. So many times you come in and you sort of take on a character and you just sort of, it's like my character.
Right.
Or, as the actor would say, so I'm not sure my character would do that. And,
Yeah, I've heard that.
And as writers, you hear that, of course, because the writer goes, really? Because it's my character, because I wrote him. Do you know what I mean?
Read the words there.
Yeah, exactly. But it definitely opened my eyes up to, look, Travis was not my character by any stretch of the imagination. It was Scott's and yours and all the writers, and it was your guys'.
It was all of ours.
It was your guys' creation. So I was just trying to. I was essentially just trying to deliver, because that was really sort of my role. I'm coming in for one season. It's not my show. I'm going to be gone after 12 episodes. So I just want to try and do the best job that I can and make sure that you guys are all happy.
Yeah.
And, and then hopefully, the fans dig it too. And from what they've told me, they do. So,
yeah. People were all surprised. Lots of people were just completely stunned. And your turn, was it like Ricochet Rabbit on?
Yeah.
You just became the Lord Vader.
Well, that was
was
the really fun part.
I mean, it looked like it was fun.
That was the fun part.
When you had followers, it was like this total transformation when you were on board that boat.
Yeah.
The couple.
That ended up. That was when everything sort of kicked up for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
you were scary, man.
well, it all sort of worked. I mean, there's a lot of different things that, I mean, there were a lot of different things that I was sort of going for at the beginning that I wasn't able to do.
Right.
And those last 2 or 3 episodes, that was where I was able to sort of do it, you know, and I think over the course of the season, I know that the season technically only lasts about 3 weeks, I think, like within the story.
Yeah, it was about a month and a half.
About a month and a half.
Yeah.
I think I lost 20 pounds.
You were looking better
over the course of this.
We were like
5 months, 6
let's get
months,
Colin
I think
naked
we shot.
again.
Yeah, no. Well, listen. When you sign a legal document saying you're willing to show your butt, it gets you to the gym.
Is that what it
Oh yeah. So I was doing.
Did you ride your bike to
yeah, I was
set
riding
and
my bike.
everything?
I'd ride my bike to set, and I was doing a pretty serious workout regimen and diet regimen. And so by the end, I mean, no one will notice this, but like the first episode, I'm actually kind of like chubby.
Oh.
And by the second episode, I have bags under my eyes, and it sort of ended up falling into my lap the way that it sort of worked. But I just sort of feel like Travis had this line that he was fasting and he was drawing his own blood, and so.
Yeah. It worked out great.
Yeah, it sort of, by the end,
even just the way you stood.
Yeah.
I remember on the boat, when you were wearing that crazy
hazmat
suit and you took that thing off and you had the poison gas, whatever. That you were an entirely different person from that guy.
Yeah, and that
had to be fun.
And that
'Cause you were
fun.
Edward James Olmos. You were Professor Geller.
Yeah,
you were complete.
That was fun, because it's always fun when you're able to see a character go through a journey, and you start off one way and then you end up someplace
Crazy
different.
journey.
And very rarely do you get to see something that sort of drastic. But
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I told John Dahl in that last episode, my favorite scene is Travis walking through Dexter's apartment.
Yes.
That's my favorite scene.
Throwing the stuff down.
Because it's throwing the stuff down, and it was the chance
was it cereal?
cereal.
Just like,
Well, it was just this really great thing about being able to go into a stranger's room, which everyone who watches the show knows that room,
right.
but Travis doesn't. And there was just even just the simplicity of him going in, setting the bag down, and then taking a step back and like looking around.
Yeah.
It was just a chance to do little things like that as an actor, especially on TV, you very rarely get the chance to do. And that, for whatever reason, it's not the big crying scenes. It's not the big emotional. I always like doing that really super small stuff, you know, that really, you know, blink and you
even
miss
the way
it
that
type
you
stuff.
That's the episode where you picked up the hand, right?
Yeah.
And you just like, you
Well,
looked
yeah.
at this and thought, there was this look on your face that said, man, this guy's a freak.
Yeah, like
Which
what is this? Do you know what I mean? And I know that everyone, you know, I know other people that are watching the show are freaking out that they're seeing that.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, what's going to happen to that
And
hand.
then you see Harrison's picture.
Yeah. And just little
it's a
things
good sacrifice.
like,
This seems very biblical.
Yeah. Just a little nod, you know, a little look up to the sky and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember that was the only night that I think I think it was one of the only nights that people like from the crew like hung around after work, and we had a few beers and we were all in the camera truck. And I remember having
the camera
I
truck.
love club camera, man. Every job, I'm always I want club camera. I want to party at club camera. And I remember having a long conversation with John about that. And we were just basically just sort of talking about how much we love those kinds of scenes, how much we love being able to have those sorts of opportunities. Yeah. And so it was almost like that whole season was working up to that scene for me. Yeah. You know, the scene on the roof ended up being kind of hard because the sweet kid,
it's
just
tough.
It was hard.
Were you a child actor or no?
No, God, no, not a child actor. No.
You were in. I was looking at like you did that thing you do.
I had
a
like small
moment.
I had a small like I was an extra in that thing you do. I had a scene that was cut out.
Oh, so you're not even. I just looked it up on IMDb.
So that was a good lesson as an actor. It's like, if it's no good, it's gonna get cut. Be good. But yeah, I was not. I was not a child actor. But the way it was written was that the Harrison was supposed to be in the lion suit, and he was supposed to be sitting inside the sort of altar thing, and that kid. Those two kids who were very, very sweet kids who I spent time with and earn their trust and all that stuff. They did not want to be in that. You're not
going to put me in the cat bed.
No. And I remember telling John, I was like, I'm trying to calm this kid down, and the only thing I could do is hold this kid. I was holding like a
4-year-old.
The 4-year-old. I mean, that's, I don't want to say it's 80 pounds, but I mean, that's 45 pounds. I was holding in my right arm all day.
Squirming.
Squirming, screaming, crying. And I was just like, dude, he's not going to get in there. It's just not going to happen. And I remember other people going like, oh, who cares? Just put him in. I'm like, I just had a kid, right? So I'm like,
This is killing me.
I'm not putting a screaming child and then pointing a sword at it, with bags under my eyes, saying, screaming at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing that. So that was
But you did it well. What we saw on camera
it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. We made the day. That's what mattered.
You made the day.
We made the day. Wow. But yeah, so I mean, Travis ended up being, it was an interesting experience. The very beginning was a lot of fun. There was a middle portion that was really difficult, and then the end was a blast.
Yeah.
But that's
that stuff with your sister. What was her name? The actress.
Molly Parker. I want to say
right?
her name is.
I'm looking to you,
Molly Parker.
Rob G.
I don't have internet.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was
Molly, from I remember her from Deadwood.
Yeah.
Those scenes, those two family scenes were amazing too. Yeah, like this is what you really wanted.
Yeah,
just wanted connection. I mean, that's sort of I feel like that's sort of the theme of Dexter. The whole thing is that we all sort of are searching for connection, and we're all looking to belong.
Yeah.
You know? And that was sort of, you know, the good thing about Travis and the bad thing about Travis.
Well, yeah. I mean, the really funny thing, and I don't know if it's because I looked at him differently because I sort of had to, but I saw him as a much more tragic character than I think a lot of other people did.
To me, that's how we thought of it too. It's sort of like
Yeah.
the. I mean, in my office, I got all these Universal monster things. It is that sort of a. He's monstrous, but he's not a monster.
Mm-hmm.
The things that he wants to do aren't necessarily bad, even though they're bad.
Well, and
Killing your sister.
And I'm trying to remember because I know it was written, but I remember there being a scene where Deb talks to a psychiatrist that had seen that Travis had been seeing.
Right.
And it sort of gave a backstory as to what happened with Travis, but I don't think that made it into the show.
Yeah, I mean, we had this was another sort of like almost happened moment.
Yeah,
I think I sort of wish that we had ended up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, like the beginning of the scene when Dexter was in the church and he followed. He went downstairs. And
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
The big ending is that Edward James Olmos is frozen.
Yes.
And you brought him along.
Yes.
And then we were going to play. We were going to start the next episode. I think that was episode. It was Ricochet Rabbit. I think it was episode 10. We were going to play it. That suddenly we start off and it's Travis Marshall sitting in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And camera swings around.
Oh,
and
do like a flashback?
Yeah,
type
yeah,
thing?
and there's a professor.
Yeah.
And you see their relationship, and you see this. You know, you're taking all these great notes and
Mm-hmm.
really wanting to believe. And then the day that you actually go to him and say, "I figured this out. Look at these numbers." You know, I don't quite remember. But, but Revelations is real.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you poor son.
Yeah,
No, this is great literature. This is you know, for all we know, this was something." They just were writing about this, this end times apocalypse stuff that happens all the time in every culture, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when you sort of snapped and lost it. So we were gonna show that, and then I don't remember why it didn't end up happening, but in some ways I wish that it had, because then it would have been this whole other version of Travis Marshall.
Well,
You know,
I mean, it was funny because this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I actually really liked the way that played out.
Yeah, that conversation.
Yeah,
I
conversation
mean, we heard it
was great.
saw
Yeah,
and
it
the way you cut
worked.
to Dexter and it's just you out
Yeah.
there, and then it cuts to you and it's the both of you, and
There were a couple of those. I mean, there were a couple of takes where I just told Eddie, I'm like, just go. I don't need you. And he goes, you don't need me to do lines? I go, no. I'll just don't.
Okay.
And it helped actually because then I was able to play the crazy a whole lot more.
Because we were actually gonna have him like in the hotel room. Remember the scene in the hotel room where you found the writing on the wall?
Oh yeah.
We were gonna have him. We were have him like light up and rise up.
Well, we shot that.
Yeah.
We shot all that. I remember that.
Yeah. So then everyone would go like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. But
Now I
then
get
that
it.
didn't make it. Yeah, but there was the scene with this psychiatrist. It sort of talked about the car accident
Right.
that Travis was in with his parents, where his parents died, and then that's why his sister looks after him and all this sort of stuff.
And it was sort of your fault, right?
And it was and that one piece put Travis in perspective for me.
Right.
And that one piece, you know, the damage that was inflicted on him at that moment sets into motion everything else that happens. And so
why he would need Professor Geller.
Why he would need Professor Geller. Why he thinks the things that he does. Why he becomes obsessive about, you know, all of this stuff that
The
that
end
he
of
ends up doing.
everything.
Yeah, the end of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And that to me was like a super important part.
Right.
And that to me gave him a humanity that I think once the Geller reveal comes around, it's strange. I think a lot of people just want to see bad dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, I mean, I think it's really very funny how, sort of one of the big criticisms of that season was like, there wasn't enough bad dudes, and we really don't like Deb falling in love with Dexter.
Yeah,
and it's like, which is like,
his own form of
really,
craziness,
they're not related. They're not. They're not
And
But
by the way, the guy that she's falling in love with takes people and chops them up into 16 pieces, puts them in garbage bags, and dumps them in the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe be disturbed by that. Yeah.
But I always just saw Travis as a very flawed, very lost guy. And
he was looking for, when things end, that there would be some sort of salvation. Something great would happen at the end.
Yeah.
And that's the weird promise of Revelation.
And no one else saw that. They just saw sort of religious freak dude. Which, I mean, I would too if I didn't know the intricacies of his backstory.
But it's also the end.
I didn't know about, if I didn't know about that cousin in Duluth. You know what I mean?
Wow. It was fun. It was a good.
I loved it. I really did. I absolutely dug it.
How long did you lay on the table? That
was an all day. That was
Were
an
you
all day
completely
thing. Yeah, I was wrapped up. Not fun. Very hot. Very sweaty. But there was an element that there's almost like a fraternity of people. Do you know what I mean? So it was sort of a little bit. I was honored to be part of that fraternity of people
I'm putting up my knuckle for a knuckle bump because I
remember
got
that.
wrapped
Yes, you did.
In season 7, I got wrapped up and killed by Dexter.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and
I heard.
When you raise your hands above your head and they wrap you, you're in the nudie underwear.
Yeah,
flesh colored.
Flesh colored.
They're like, do you want the thong or the regular panty? And I'm like,
what did you go with?
I didn't go for the thong.
You didn't go for the thong?
Did you go for the thong?
I think I went regular panty.
Yeah, there's something weird about it.
I
They
think
call
I
it a
went-
panty.
I went manty. I wore the manties.
And the crew or the props guys say, raise your hands above your head. And they
and they do that. Yeah. Did they have a spotlight on you?
Yeah,
that you had
right
to,
in my face.
Yeah,
It's just-
you have them turn it off during when they're
Molly
setting up
would
shots.
covers your eyes in between.
Yeah.
It's just burning into your head, and that whole time you're thinking, please don't have to pee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. It's just no drinking that day.
Yeah.
Didn't drink any
'Cause
water or anything.
I was just on for my scene was just 40 minutes. Yours was literally like 8 hours.
It was
right?
it was
16.
It was
hours.
almost all day. Yeah. If I recall, that was supposed to be our last day. No, it was. It was scheduled to be the last day, but then weather did not permit, and we had to move that up a few days and then do the rooftop stuff as the last day.
Oh.
I was really excited for that to be the last day.
Yeah.
I thought that was really.
It's a good ending.
It was a great way to end it, but we ended up having to end on the roof. But I remember, when reading that final episode and doing those, I was convinced that those last few pages were fake. They had sent out some last
you were
few
waiting
pages.
to be freed.
And so I went into Scott's office. It was
Yeah.
the only time I asked for a meeting.
Yeah.
And I go, I need to know if you're comfortable with telling me. I would really like to know if this last scene is what it's going to be, because if it's going to change, I need to know so I can wrap my head around it and prepare, because it's an important scene.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's going to change, but very, very little. Do you want to know what it is? I go, yeah, sure. He goes, Deb's going to find out.
And you're like,
And I was like, I gave
But what
the
about
same,
me?
I gave the same reaction the last time, where it's like, oh, wow, okay, thank you. And I remember just walking out of Scott's office going, what is going on? Everything I think is not, There was a moment of just like, we're back to what it felt like in the middle of the show. What is going on? But I'm more than happy to be the sacrificial lamb that set into motion the rest of that sort of stuff. So
yeah, it was fun.
it worked out good.
And now you're, what is it? During that time, like we'd been, I'm sitting on set out in Long Beach or whatever. You were always, you're like the biggest sport guy.
Yes,
I know.
I'm a big sports fan. I got
there's
my
not
hobbies.
a sport you don't like.
I don't play
You like
any
the
of
Kings?
them. I like the Stanley Cup champion Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
like the Red Wings.
Big,
so.
yeah. Yeah, well, they're a good team
We have
too.
we had some moments.
Yeah, we had some moments. You got a lot of banners up in those rafters. I'm not feeling sorry for
Then
you.
baseball, you're like a giant
Big baseball. Last year was was the best sports year of my life. Like it'll never get any better because my San Francisco Giants won the World Series for the second time in 3 years, and my Los Angeles Kings finally won the Stanley Cup for the first time in their existence. And those are, I mean, that was all in 1 year. And I was at, let's see, I was at a majority of the Kings playoff run, and I was there when they lifted the cup. I got to see the cup a lot this summer. I drank from it a couple of times.
Wow.
I got to have I had a lot of.
Did you play hockey or no?
No, never played.
Never played it. You just like the.
Never played.
Because it's weird to find. I found anyway. It's weird to find actors that like all sports. Sometimes they'll have like, they'll be wearing their Yankees hat or whatever.
Yeah. No,
I like. I'll try to talk about a game, and they'll be like, yeah,
no, I
kind of
dig all sports. No, I mean, I don't know what it is.
And music.
Big music fan. Yeah. Very, very big music fan.
And then you're doing this documentary about Tower Records.
Doing a documentary about Tower Records,
which was like my favorite. Back when I first moved to LA back in '95.
I remember you telling me this. This was Tower was your spot.
I would always go down there and I'd hang out for like
friendly
an hour,
confines.
looking through. Yeah, and everybody were. If it didn't feel like a corporate structure at all. It felt like everybody there knew their section, like Amoeba does sort of today.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was a look, man. Tower, I think, was a very, very special, very unique place that could only exist in the time period that it did. It existed in this very unique time, and they were constantly in the right place at the right time with the right attitude in every city they were in every store that they opened up until the window closed and
it closed fast
and the party was over.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling a French exit and leaving gracefully, they stuck around till the very end saying, no, the party doesn't need to end. We're still here. It's the music industry. It's fun.
Yeah.
I've been working on this documentary for 5 years now. It will probably be another year or so before we're close to maybe release, it being done.
Yeah.
I'm not even want to say releasing it because I can finish the movie and it could still sit on a shelf for, who knows how long.
It's happened before.
It's a tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast. But which is a song from Beauty and the Beast.
I don't
know.
You have a daughter? Is that what this is about?
No, I don't know why. I was just going on the connection of a song and music.
Right, okay.
I actually hate musicals. Never met a person that's understood that musical reference. Maybe someone listening right now is sitting there going,
there's some guy.
I knew.
Yes.
I knew it.
Yes, I feel understood by Colin Hanks.
And then
Mom!
There's
he's
someone
banging on the ceiling.
There's
Mom,
someone
listen!
else is going, oh, I just heard DDK reference Beauty and the Beast. Mind blown. But yeah, I've been working on Tower for a long time, and we're just sort of now getting to a really exciting point where we've got, we don't have a majority of the film shot, but we've got enough of the film shot that we're starting to see things fall into place where they should be and starting to get a greater picture of what it is. And it's really exciting. It's just hard because it's not, it's not like doing TV. It's not a narrative film.
Yeah.
The
story can change.
It's
one
story
interview,
changes,
right?
It evolves. It's constantly growing. You're sort of
well, even when we were sitting in here just before we started the podcast, you're talking to Rob G and found out, oh yeah, he worked there too.
Yeah, I'm now got Rob's going to be in the movie now. I didn't know that.
Stoked to be a part of it.
I didn't know that when I showed up for the Dexter podcast. So I got a new part of my movie now, which I'm stoked on. Yeah. Trust me, when I get home, there's going to be an email to my to my writer and my co-producer going, guys, I found an artist. I found an in-store artist. So
you never know what you find on a Dexter podcast.
Exactly. No, it sort of works out, and it's kind of fitting because I remember actually when we were shooting your SJ episode, that was when our Kickstarter closed. So
I got on board. Yeah, it was fun.
You did. Yeah. Have we sent you anything yet? Have you?
No,
did you donate?
Yeah.
Well, you're a backer, right?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
But I haven't. Did you get a T-shirt?
I moved, so there's a chance that it may come later.
Well, no, but
I'll figure it out.
We're still going to send you the stuff.
Yeah.
But do you have it?
I'll wear it
Did you
proudly.
get the T-shirt and the? Do you remember what you ordered?
I think I did a T-shirt and something else.
A sticker?
I don't know.
You want to? Do you want to see the poster?
You
Have
got a
seen the poster?
I saw on your emails.
Yeah.
I read your emails. I don't just go, oh look, it's a delete.
Some people do. Some people do. Can I get another one?
Yeah,
of these?
yeah. We're reaching for a beer.
I'm not sure if we have the cut capabilities. I don't know if you're going to edit this.
No, we're not going to edit it out. This is a podcast, man. Another question.
Yeah.
A lot of time. How many times have you played like this serial killer? It's been like 2 or 3 times now, right? Or a killer at least.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you.
I don't. I don't have killers, that. You don't think of Colin Hanks.
But yet you have several times. Right?
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah, I've done it 2 other times. One was for comedic effect.
Right. I think that was the one that came out right about the same time.
Around the same time as Dexter. Yeah, there was a film called Lucky that I did, where I played a serial killer, but it was a black comedy. So yeah, there was that, and then there was another film called Alone with Her, which I'm shocked whenever anyone mentions it. Rob G mentioned it, and he blew my mind. That's
big fan of it, man.
The second time that Rob G blew my mind.
Boom.
But yeah, I played. That was a movie that was sort of in the vein of like a Blair Witch type thing, a found footage film, and it was basically a movie about a very socially awkward guy with a questionable past who becomes obsessed with a girl and puts spy equipment in her apartment, and the entire film is told through those cameras, and you see him slowly insert himself into her life, and he sort of forces things to happen to play to his advantage, and sort of plays her into his hands.
So would you check that out if we haven't seen that?
Check it out. I mean, it's an interesting movie. I mean, I would call it sort of like the noble attempt. I mean, we were really trying to do something at the time that was still sort of unique and different. I haven't really seen anybody really do anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of horror movies, but again, not being necessarily a huge horror fan, I haven't really seen like the Paranormal Activities and stuff like that. It can do a lot for you. I mean, it works to great effect for them, obviously. Yeah. Jesus, how many are there?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. Yeah, there was one Alone with Her. So so
so that's the thing. Like watching a lot of the stuff that you've done, it's a lot of times it's sort of socially, from Travis Marshall on down, sort of socially awkward people, and yet, hanging out on set with you, seeing you around town, whatever. Yeah, you are not. There's not a socially awkward bone in your body, as far as anyone could tell.
Not on the surface.
You're
all the bones are deep down inside. No, I don't know. To be quite honest, I really don't know what it is.
Even the priest was a little bit. I mean,
even the priest was had his moments too. Yeah. I don't know what it is. There's a couple of themes that that I don't really have anything to do with in terms of the roles that because speaking frankly, very rarely are the roles that I play are not necessarily my choice.
Right.
They're a combination of my choice. Let me rephrase that. They're not solely my choice. There's a combination of I choose to do them, but more importantly, someone else has chosen me to be able to be in it.
Right.
And
the whole weird casting process.
Yeah. And essentially, a lot of them are writers. A lot of the roles are writers.
Right.
A lot of the roles are socially sort of awkward, sweet, endearing type guys. I mean, that's sort of the if there is a typecast for me, that sort of tends to be it. And
do you feel the pressure of the dad on all of this, or your dad?
A little bit. I don't.
Did you tell him you wanted to be an actor early on, or was this?
Well, it was definitely something that I always did, that I always enjoyed doing. When it was fun, like high school plays and junior high plays. I mean, that was always just something that I enjoyed doing. It was really fun.
Not a jock during that time.
No,
So
not
funny.
a jock. I went to a sort of a small school in Sacramento, California, and so like I played sports, but really only because they needed bodies, not because I was a good athlete. You know, I got flat feet and bad knees. I'm really not that athletically. I think one of the reasons why I like sports is really the drama of it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
The storylines, but yeah, I mean, for me, it was just always something that I really enjoyed doing. But again, it wasn't something that I was obsessive about.
Right.
You know, I sort of am a little bit of a butterfly in that regard. I'm not obsessive about it. It's not. I love what I do, but you know, if someone says, you know, what's your favorite movie? It's like, I don't know. I don't have a favorite. You know,
Come on. What's your favorite movie?
I can't do that. I can't
What's
do
your favorite
it.
movie?
If I had to choose, it would be a three-way
Beauty and the Beast.
tie. No, no. If I had to choose, it would probably be a three-way tie between Big Lebowski,
Oh, love it.
Dazed and Confused,
Yeah.
and Empire Strikes Back. Those are the three films that I've seen the
Right.
most. And I think if you're going to talk about
Those
a
are-
favorite movie, you need to have seen it,
Yeah.
you know, more than multiple times.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need
yeah.
to have seen it
That's a good
20,
mix.
30, 40 times. And
That's a
I've
good
seen
mix.
those movies.
Different ages
20, 30,
too.
40
That's
times.
that's a nice. I just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, actually it's true.
Yeah.
That it's sort of different eras of my life, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't know why I sort of have these sort of sweet roles. I'm not sure what
you're-
it is, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just able to tap into a sincerity or an
Right.
earnestness
And
very
cerebral
well.
too. A little, you know.
a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. I'm always trying to, to flesh it out and do other stuff and find stuff, other little bits of the playground to play in, and so Dexter was part of it. I mean, those last 3 episodes is obviously I'm doing something very, very different there.
Completely
and-
different. Yeah, I can't think of another role you've had that
Yeah.
required.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That
they're
commitment.
No, there's very few. I mean, Alone with Her was
Yeah.
an attempt at it. Was a little bit different in the presentation. And Lucky was a combination of it. Along with some comedic stuff too. So I'm always trying to, I've just always just tried to do stuff that's fun for me.
Right.
Look. The people who watch it, you watch a movie, it's 2 hours of your life. That's it.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's 2 hours, you enjoyed spending. Hopefully you don't walk
You
out
wanna
going
come
like,
back,
well,
maybe.
those are
Yeah.
2 hours I'll never get back. But hopefully you enjoy. But I mean, it's for me. I mean, that could be 5 weeks, 10 weeks,
Yeah.
10 months of my life. So
The show
I
was
want
4
it to be
months,
fun.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the show was 4 months. Yeah. So you want it to be fun and engaging. And luckily I've been able to eke out a career over
Yeah.
the past like 10 years, and it's been varied and it's been different. I've been doing a lot of internet comedy stuff lately, and that's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I saw you. I was watching.
Burning Love.
No, it
No?
was. You played like a cop. It was in a little sketch. Oh, it was on.
Oh, it was in Comedy
Comedy
Bang
Bang.
Bang. Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah. Comedy Bang Bang. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott
I was like,
Ackerman
"Oh,
said,
look
"Yeah,
at
come
that.
in,
There he
come
is."
in and be a serious cop guy for comedic effects." All right, yeah, sure.
That'd be fun. Those guys.
Oh, it was a
that's fun
blast.
show.
Oh, so much fun.
Did you hang out? Did you get to hang out with the musician guy?
Reggie Watts?
Reggie Watts.
I did not. I've met Reggie, and I know Reggie, but
such a
we
fan.
weren't up there that day, unfortunately.
I remember I saw him at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery,
He's a genius.
and
He's a genius.
he came on as a someone else canceled, and so he just showed up, and I'd never heard of him before, and I thought, I've never seen. He was like a soul singer or
That
something
dude's a
back in the
genius.
day. Yeah.
That dude is like
It's another level.
No joke. Like watching Reggie perform, and when his performance, watching Reggie do what he does, which
Yeah.
nobody else
Nobody.
does. I truly believe that is the equivalent of like Miles Davis.
Yes.
At the height,
Yeah, yeah.
at Bitches Bro, or
Yeah.
what I mean, it's the equivalent of, Dylan going electric. Pick your musical guy pushing the envelope, in which people are sort of like going, have this weird combination of like awe and amazement, but then also like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And why am I laughing
don't
so
get
hard?
it. Why am I laughing so hard? But I've gone into like transcendental laughing fits watching watching Reggie, and then you sort of come out of it going like, oh my God, I think I just like had a weird like mushroom trip, even though I haven't eaten any mushrooms. Like, it's very strange. So it's like doing stuff like that, like with the Comedy Bang Bang stuff, or I did a couple of episodes of this thing for Yahoo called Burning Love with Ken Marino and Joe Truglio and a bunch of the guys from the state and a whole bunch of a slew of other people.
Because you're good at comedy.
I thank you.
I
thank you. I don't know. Like, now I'm having a hard. I'm actually having to remind a lot of people that like I do that.
Yeah.
Like this pilot season, a lot of feedback was like, I'm not sure if he can be funny. I'm like,
what?
Oh, what? Clearly,
it's like your bread and butter.
I'm like, you're not paying attention, which of course they're not. They're not paying attention the way I am paying attention to what I do. That makes perfect sense. But no, I'm always trying to keep it interesting for me, because if it's not interesting for me, then I don't think anyone else is going to find it all that interesting.
Well, you've done a great job, man.
No,
thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Thanks
is that it?
Big
We're
bad
done?
thing, yeah.
55 minutes.
Yeah.
55 minutes. Is that's
you
never go over.
No, we've gone over a couple times.
You'll go over if you get Lithgow.
Yeah. He's like in London right now.
Yeah, I think he's doing a show.
By the way, like the nicest guy ever.
He's
Well,
another
sort of
super
like
nice
you.
guy.
Nicest
He's
guy
a super
ever,
nice
but
guy. Yeah,
when they want to be terrifying.
Yeah. Oh God. Ooh, and he says that C word. See you next Tuesday. Oh.
Yeah, that was
tightened. Good. Oh, everybody just tightens up, cringes. Rough stuff. I'm excited. You know what? I haven't seen any of episode 7 or season 7. Or 8. So I'm actually. Well, I think I'm gonna wait.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm gonna binge. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should
No,
watch
binge.
7 and
you're
then.
about to have a kid or something, right? So you're gonna
Maybe I should
scare your children.
go through.
Have your children seen a lot of your work? Your kid? How old's it? 3, 2,
no.
4? No.
2.
No.
No concept. No, I mean no.
You should
concept.
You should scare him sometimes. Just put yourself on TV and be like, "Help me!"
Well, I mean,
let me out of this box.
We could save this for later, but there's this weird thing where I'm convinced that she doesn't quite understand what's going on because she sees me move on the TV, sees me move on an iPhone, she sees me move on an iPad.
Yeah.
And those are just regular family videos.
Oh, right.
So if she sees me like being interviewed on TV, it's not any different. It's just, oh yeah, there's Daddy moving in videos like he does when he makes funny videos for me. There's no difference for her.
Show him the finale.
Yeah, exactly.
Daddy killed.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Daddy, kid, don't kill that boy. Yeah, there's going to be some interesting things later on down the road. But at that point, I'll be like a card-carrying member of the NRA and a Republican, so it won't matter. It won't matter. You go to your room. Don't worry about it. You want to go out on Friday, you will just drop it. Well,
You've got it all down. You're ready.
Listen, I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Boy or girl? I can't remember.
Girl.
Oh, yeah. I've got a daughter.
Yeah. So you know.
It's terrifying.
Oh, God.
I saw Spring Breakers. Terrified.
Not going to see it.
You should see it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, not going to see it. That's going to give me
You'll never let your child.
I'm never going to let my daughter out.
Go to spring break.
I'm not going to see that movie. I'm saying right now. Saying right now. Although I hear
fantastic.
I hear it's great.
It's fantastic.
I hear it's very good.
Terrifying. Franco. Terrifying. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
This is my.
I did like teen movies with Franco.
Yeah.
Like when we started out, the very first movie I did was he was one of the leads. And I remember just going like, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden now it's like James Franco. He does everything. And you're just like, dude, why did James Franco be the guy that like does all this cool stuff?
Yeah, my wife worked with him on. She's a production design, but Freaks and Geeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your wife was a production designer on Freaks and Geeks?
She worked in production design.
In production design.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was around a little bit during that.
Did you go visit?
Era.
I used to go visit.
I used to visit quite a bit.
Just sit there and go, wow, this stuff's amazing.
Oh my God, so good.
Why can't I do this?
Yeah, a lot of that.
Yeah.
Let's go do it.
All right.
Let's go do something like that.
Sounds good.
All right, sweet.
It'd be tough to make a high schooler for you.
Yeah.
You look young.
No, I'm unfortunately not that young anymore.
Uh-huh.
You shoot one movie where all of a sudden you're no longer the high school student and you play like the vice principal. That's a sign.
Is it weird?
That oh yeah.
Because there's stages for actors.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. Yeah.
Because you were the
I was the kid,
boy child.
The boy
star.
child. Yeah. The kid, who really wants to get invited to the party or do any of that sort of stuff. And then now it's, there was that
Are you getting dad roles now or no? You don't quite look like when I think of dads.
Not so much. I think there's still like that. There's that thing of like, oh, a dad has to be a dude in his mid-40s.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm not saying there aren't dads that aren't in their mid-40s. There are, but not all of them.
Yeah.
But
in LA,
they tend to just go with whatever the cliche is. So.
Yeah.
But maybe when I'm turn 45, then all of a sudden I'll get those roles. I don't know. I just pray that it's not on like Nick Jr. Or if you see me on Team Umizoomi or doing the theatrical version of Beauty and the Beast. His tale's as old as time, Beauty and the Beast.
That'd be a good. I'd see that show, especially if you're a beauty. Hey, thanks for coming in again.
Thanks for having me.
Good times.
It was a pleasure.
Look forward to seeing great things in the future. Look forward to seeing this Tower Records.
Yeah, man. Keep your eyes peeled.
All right.
Like for the next few years.
You have a Twitter handle and all that, right?
Yeah,
at
Colin Hanks, COLIN HANKS.
And you're very entertaining.
Thank you very much. I was at one point one of Time's 140 people to follow.
Yeah.
And they said he's got great musical taste. And then
exactly.
And then I didn't tweet about music for about 5 months.
Did it get in your head?
It got in my head a little too much.
And talk about Youth Lagoon. What are they going to think?
Yeah, it got in my head a little bit, and then my sports teams went on a binge. And,
right.
The Giants went to the World Series, and
I
got to sing "Take Me Out of the Ball Game" at Game 2 of the World Series. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the cool up and coming bands. When my teams are winning. Like I cried when the Kings won the Stanley Cup. Like bawled.
Yeah.
Like tears.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Especially for an LA team, man.
So I had a big sports binge but now we're getting back into the music. So Colin Hanks, at Colin Hanks on Twitter, and then the Tower Doc is Tower Records, at Tower Records Doc.
Excellent.
Those are the two Twitter handles.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for coming in once again. This is the Big Bad edition.
Big Bad.
To Scott Reynolds, one of the writers on the show.
Yes.
Host of the
Dexter
podcast.
Writer/podcast host.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good life.
It works.
I like it. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, Rob G.
Yes.
Thank you, too.
You're welcome.
Rob G, take us out one time.